Everyone in Malta is getting a €100 or €200 check, Malta's Prime Minister has pledged. The parents of children in sports or arts will be given a €300 check, the PN pledges, and a four-car collision leads to a standstill traffic across the island. All this and more on Lovin Daily. Good evening, Malta and Gozo. Johnathan, Cilia here, joined by Matt Baldacchino. We've got the latest updates from the election trail right here, as well as a very special guest in the building, X Factor Malta winner Ryan Healy. So stay tuned to the end of the episode for that interview. But before that, let's jump into today's top story. All workers and students in Malta will be given a €100 check, and all pensioners and people on social benefits will be given a €200 check. Malta's Prime Minister Robert Abela said today. Now, if you weren't aware, Malta is very much into the general election season, and money is being given to people to address the recent inflation issue, Abela said. So obviously, Lovin Malta has reported over the last few weeks that daily essentials such as bread, butter and milk have been rising in price, and Abela said this check is meant to aid that. When asked whether he should postpone giving out the check to after the election, he said, "We cannot do that because people need the help now."
Yeah, as you very well said, people are raising concern that this is essentially buying votes, So what do you guys think? Do you think it should be postponed until after the election? Let us know in the comment section, and we'll move on to our next story, from the PL's checks to the PN's cash benefits. Parents of children in sports and arts will be given €300, the PN pledges. Children, in turn, could benefit from additional schemes which could have their families reduce taxable incomes, school fees, and payments towards extracurricular activities tied to both sports and arts. The party proposal follows a €1 billion digital vision for the island based on 5 key points over 10 new sectors. The project also includes the proposed strengthening of certain sectors, with sports and arts being 2 examples. According to Greg, these 2 sectors each have yet to receive a, quote, serious investment.
Look, incentivizing things such as sports and arts, which is very much needed in Malta, is a great thing. So incentivizing by giving €300 annually is a pretty decent thing for parents. I would like to see a bit more details on this. Obviously, the PN has come out with their €1 billion digital vision. Sounds really great, metaverse, video game manufacturing. I would like to hear a bit more details, both on the vision as well as how these €300 will be given out. So what is it, do you have to take your child to a park and go for a run and you get the money? Do they have to paint a painting? So a bit more details on this, but it does sound interesting from the get-go. Now, move on to the next story. If you were stuck in traffic this morning, there's a very clear reason for that. There was a 4-car collision, unfortunately, in a main road in Marsa early this morning. It happened at about 6:45, 7 a.m. So obviously like the worst time for people going to work. We had reports of people stuck in traffic everywhere from Hamroon to the Coast Road and other areas as well. So it just goes to show, in a very small island, in a country where everyone basically has their own transport, one accident happens and basically the whole island gets stuck.
Yeah. The 46-year-old man who was taken to Malta today was later certified to be suffering from grievous injuries, so we do hope that he gets well soon. It's interesting to see that despite all these, infrastructure and network upgrades to our roads, that we're still getting stuck. So, leave it at that. Moving on to the international sphere, European Parliament President Roberta Metsola has condemned the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. Following Russian President Vladimir Putin's orders to Russian troops to take over Ukrainian separatist regions in recognition of their independence, European Parliament President Roberta Metsola released a statement condemning said invasion. She took to Twitter and blasted the unilateral attack on Russia, calling it, quote, a gross violation of international law which justifies new severe sanctions. Metsola confirmed that the European Parliament stands with Ukraine by saying, quote, we will not leave the Ukrainian people to their aggressors. She was not alone in her condemnation of Russia, with several EU leaders, including the European Council President Charles Michel and the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, as well as the High Representative of the European Union of Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell Fontes, tweeting a common post last night.
Look, I think internationally there's a lot of rising tensions over what's happening exactly on the border between Russia and Ukraine. You know, you have Biden, the US president, speaking about this every single day, tweeting about it. Now you have Roberta Metsola. I mean, it's good to know that there's a Maltese person at a very high rank kind of involved in these discussions, so it's not like we're kind of left out in the dark. We will be following the story very, very closely. Love Malta has actually reached out to Foreign Affairs Minister Evers Bartolo to kind of get a better sense of where Malta lays in this conflict. Is it going to escalate? We're hearing that there are, you know, armies and soldiers on the border. Some might have even invaded Ukraine. So we will be following the story very closely. You know, a lot of people are talking about it. Moving on to the final story, a bit of an emotional story. So obviously, recently we had the tragic passing of Chris Shikluna, one half of the duo Chris and Moira. Today there was the funeral for him to be sent on, you know, and it was a very emotional affair. You know, the man was 62 years old and he had been battling cancer for about 2 years. And Moira Stafrace, both his musical partner as well as his wife, actually had a very emotional, heartfelt rendition of their song More Than Love. She actually played the song at the end of the Mass, right before the coffin was being taken out of church, and it was met by deafening applause. You know, a lot of people were very emotional when they heard her tribute to her beloved husband. You can find the video on Lovin Malta's Instagram and articles on lovinmalta.com. But you know, it is a beautiful way, you know, for such a musical person to be sent off with a musical rendition of their own music.
Yeah, our condolences obviously to the Stafrace and Shikluna families and to their closest friends and loved ones. That brings us to the end of the first part of today's episode of Lovin Daily. Stay tuned, we have a very special guest today with us, the winner of X Factor Malta Season 3, Ryan Healy. Stay tuned, we'll be cutting to a short clip and we'll be back soon.
And we're back on Lovin Daily today. We've got a very special guest. We've got Ryan Healy, the winner of the recent season of X Factor Malta. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, we wanted to bring you in and speak to you a little bit because obviously Malta, a lot of our readers were following your story and it was quite an inspirational story. But before we get into the details, let's go back to the moment you won. Everyone was watching and it kind of looked like even you were surprised that you had been named winner. So take me through the moment that you actually were named the winner.
So basically, before we went on stage, we were saying to each other, we're in the top 3, whatever the result is, it's good that we're here. So in my mind, I was saying to myself, I mean, you're here, you're actually in the top 3, so whatever the result, I'm gonna be happy. And then when he said my name, things were starting, I mean, I couldn't even believe what I heard. So it was a hectic, like 5 minutes, and then things started to like fall into place, and I mean, it was a very happy moment.
So, I mean, how did you feel like you had performed well that evening?
I think that I saved a lot of energy for the final night. Um, when we were working, me and Howard, um, uh, I think we saved a little bit of Ryan that no one had seen before. So I think that in the final perform, even for us, I mean, it was the last time that we were going to perform on that stage. So I think that um, all the energy we had, we transmitted it that night. So
I agree. I mean, I think something that a lot of people were attracted to in your story was kind of your personality. You know, a lot of people have described you as very humble. You show a lot of humility. I think a lot of people describe you as a sweet person. So we had understood that, you know, your friends kind of pushed you to even enter the competition, right? So you went from someone who didn't even maybe want to enter the competition, or maybe you didn't have the confidence in yourself, to becoming the winner. You know, did you build confidence throughout the show? What was the process to take you from someone who wasn't even sure if they're going to enter the competition to winning it?
I think the process was very long, but it really helped me build my confidence in a way that from a shy person, I went to being, let's say, an artistic person. Um, um, of course, in the audition, I was scared. I was very scared. I mean, performing in front of four big, huge people in the music industry is very scary. But it was it helped me in the other phases. So I was already like, um, I knew what I was going to find in front of me, especially in the chair challenge and in boot camp as well. So once I went on stage for the rehearsal in the chair challenge, I was terrified. I was shaking, and I said to myself, if I'm shaking in front of these few people in front of me, what am I going to do in front of the whole audience during the actual night? But when the actual night came and I performed, I went on stage in front of all those people, the excitement went away.
Amazing.
And I knew that it's my place. So that really helped me boost my confidence.
How did you feel on stage in the final night?
In the final night, I mean, the audience was the number of people was big.
They had the placards, Ryan Healy, people were
Yes,
chanting
yes,
your
yes.
name.
I had the in-ears, and from the in-ears, I was also hearing my
Wow.
name like before performing, but I started to calm down, and then obviously, once the song is ready, I take off my in-ears, and I really enjoy like hearing the other people like shout my name. So um, uh, it's a roller coaster of emotions. It's a roller coaster of emotions.
So you mentioned boot camp, you mentioned the chair challenge. How far did you expect to make it yourself? Like when you entered and they said, okay, you're invited, you're going to be part of this. How far did you realistically think you're going to go?
Um, I used to believe that I can sing, but I didn't actually believe that I can go to the live shows. So when I went through boot camp, and they told us that I'm going to be in the chair challenge, that I was going to be one of the boys. After the chair challenge, then I said to myself, I can actually go through the live shows because the response was big. I also had a standing ovation, so that really helped me like push myself further to actually go to the live shows. And I think once I entered the live shows, I mean, all the 12 of us, we were incredible. Um, uh, so we worked a lot, I worked a lot, and I believed in myself that I can make it through. and of course,
And you did.
I did.
So, have you always been musical? You know, do you remember the first time you were singing? Is it something you've always done? Is it something more recent?
This was actually my first time on stage.
Wow.
I mean, the Church Challenge was my first time on stage.
Are you like singing in the shower? Are you like one of those?
Exactly. I used to. I released two songs earlier, but obviously this was the main big project which I had in mind. I mean, the X Factor. I always wanted to enter X Factor since I was young. So when season 1 was announced, I was like, let's see how it's gonna go. Maybe I will enter next year. Then next year came and I decided, okay, so let me hold back and maybe next year. Then the next year came and it stopped. Malta's Got Talent came, and so I decided not to enter Malta's Got Talent. And then I said to myself, if X Factor season 3 comes, I have to enter, because it's a sign that I have to enter. And it came. So I went for it.
So, you know, I'd seen some of your stories, and you mentioned, you know, some of the people that inspired. You mentioned your father as well.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the inspiration that your father brought to you.
So my father died 3 years ago. It was very fast. In 1 month, he had a stroke. On my mother's birthday.
Wow, Jesus Christ.
On that day, and we actually buried him on my birthday. So it was very hard. So it made me realize that we only live once. We know that we're here today, but tomorrow we don't. So if we actually have to do something which we love, we have to do it now. And 25 years passed since obviously I applied. So I decided to just go for it, because you'll just live with regrets if you don't.
That's super mature of you. Listen, Ryan, I think a lot of people are inspired by your story. You know, like I said before, you were a guy that a lot of people might have seen not as the winner at first. Someone who's a little bit shy, a little bit lacking of confidence, and then you ended up taking the stage, impressing the entire nation with your voice, a powerful voice, as well as your personality. Any up-and-coming singers watching this who might, you know, sing in the shower, maybe sing when no one's listening, and they saw your story and they're feeling, oh wow, listen, this guy showed that if you have the confidence and the voice and the talent and the dedication, you can really do it. What would you tell them?
So everyone goes through a lot in life. Everyone has a lot of barriers holding them back. I believe that if you really want to do something, you just have to go for it. Whatever the comments, whatever the reactions people have, you just have to go for it. The only thing you have to do is just try. And if it goes well, I mean, that's a bonus. You just have to try, because you'll just live with regrets, and that's the honestly something that you should not do.
Ryan, where can people find you and what's the next step for you?
So basically, I'm on social media, obviously. I have a Facebook page and an Instagram page at Ryan Healy. Now we have some projects coming up. We have one major project which I'm very looking forward to.
Okay, all right. Short term, long term, medium term, this year, next year?
I think it's gonna happen this year.
Cool.
It's gonna happen this year. But I'm very looking forward to my music career just going on, and that's basically why I entered X Factor, to obviously learn, grow from it, and move forward.
Well, Ryan, listen, you've already impressed the country with your voice and your personality. We're going to be following your story here. And once again, thanks for coming in and giving a message to young singers. Guys, if you want to find out more about Ryan Healy, follow him on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Ryan Healy. you'll see him. You'll definitely be seeing more of him in the coming months and years. That brings us to the end of today's episode. From myself and the Lovin Malta team, have an evening full of lovin'.